fighting soldiers from the sky. Fearless men who jump and die. Men who mean just what they say. The brave men of the Green Beret.
Good afternoon. It's the 21st day of July, 2011, and we're in the basement of the Hancock, Iowa Methodist Church, and we're here with Kenneth Hummel. And Kenneth, thanks so much for agreeing to do this interview. You're going to enjoy watching it, but even more importantly, it's going to be around forever. Okay, so before we go any farther, I would just like to say from Mr. Fink and myself to be in the presence of 90 years young Kenneth Martin and 87 tomorrow, okay, years young,
right.
Kenneth Hummel is awe-inspiring for us young guys, right? Right, Wayne? Okay, so let's start out, Wayne, Wayne, excuse me. Let's start out again kind of talking about when and where you were born.
I was born in Oakland, Iowa on July 22nd, 1924.
Okay, and tomorrow is your birthday.
Tomorrow is my birthday.
That's awesome. 1924.
I'm making, I'll be 87.
Yeah, there you go. And I know you've got an interesting story. We've talked just a little bit about when you were young, about your mother passing away at when you were 4 years old.
Right.
But when you were a young kid, how many kids were in your family? How many?
There was 9 of us in our family,
9.
and
Okay.
all around Oakland.
Okay. And where were you in that order of 9 children?
Okay, I was actually third from the last.
Third from the last. Okay.
We lost one, which have been one in between. But
yeah, but you think about those days, number one, we had big families, and to be born and growing up in the 20s and 30s, that was tough. I mean, for a family, and there were a lot of big families in those days.
very tough, and I could add a little bit there. My grandparents took us on the farm, took my sisters and I, and then we had to work, milk cows, feed chickens, so forth, and we were allowed to sell, well, we sold actually to the Ditto Studio in Oakland, a pint of cream every Saturday night. We got 10 cents.
1 pint of cream every Saturday night.
1 pint every
10
Saturday
cents.
night, and I had to split that with my sisters.
We're going to back up just a little bit. You said your mother passed away when you were 4 years old.
I was 4, yeah. She
Okay.
was a childbirth with my one sister, which actually just passed away a few months back. She was a invalid all her life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so your mother passed away during childbirth?
That's right.
Okay,
That's
all right.
yeah.
Okay. And wow, and that had to be a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but in those days, were all your kids born out on the farm? Or were some of you born in town?
We were born in town in Oakland, right
Okay.
there by the standpipe,
Okay, all
the
right.
water tower.
Okay, so how far out in the country was your farm? Did you
Mile and
live?
a half.
Okay, mile and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had some siblings older and some younger. So what are some of your first memories on that farm, Kenneth, growing up?
Probably the first time going out there, I guess, to stay. That'd be my memories, which I didn't know what I was only 4 years old, but they give me something to do.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
right.
like gather eggs or 5, maybe try to, carry in the cobs.
All that fun stuff,
A
right?
lot of little stuff to learn with. And so
And like we were talking about a little while ago, growing up on that farm taught you how to work.
yeah, they
Okay.
did. And as we went along, then we, as I got older, we milked a lot of cows, fed cattle, and fed hogs. And I played sports in high school down in Oakland.
Okay.
All 3 of them: baseball, football, and basketball.
Okay. When you were a young lad, do you remember your dad farming with horses?
My dad didn't farm.
Okay, that's right.
My granddad.
Okay.
My granddad.
So let's talk about
That's with horses, and I used to have to go out and harrow.
Okay.
360 acres we lived on, and that was owned by Davis out of Avoca.
360 acres. Okay, so what age do you think you were when you had to go out and harrow?
Oh, I would probably guess maybe 8 or 10.
Okay, and you were harrying behind horses, right?
Yeah, with horses.
Okay. So now, this is during the Depression. If you were 8 years old in 1936, hold it, I'm getting my math wrong here. Born in 24, okay, so in 24, okay, all right, 34 you were 10, so you're like 12, okay, during 1936, which is
Right,
the
right.
height of the Depression. So you probably started even earlier in the Depression with a team of horses. What do you
Yeah, we
remember?
did, as far
What do
as,
we remember about that team of horses? I mean,
oh, I used to drive them in hay, when it was haying, had a hay loader behind us, and I'd sit up in front and hold the reins and drive the team. And I wasn't much older, but my uncle that helped farm, he'd always throw the bull snakes at me. So I'm not too fond of bull snakes.
yeah. Well, where would you find them? On the hayfield or anywhere on the farm? And he would throw them at you?
Yeah, they'd come up in the hay loader as they picked
Oh.
up the hay.
Yeah, okay.
So-
That's not a fun memory.
I didn't like him for that.
Okay, well, that's a good reason. It's also a good reason.
And
not
then
to
I
be-
used to, for the picking corn, go out and help, walk along, pick up the down ears and
Exactly.
throw them in the wagon, but there wasn't, I didn't do too many, but I still did my share, I guess.
Did you ever have a runaway with that team of horses that you recall or anything
Not
like
too
that?
much, so they were pretty good.
Okay. So your grandparents, they moved out on the farm after your mother passed away, or?
My
how's that work
grandparents
again?
lived on the farm all the
Okay,
time.
they lived there all the
They
time.
come up from out of Elliott, Iowa,
All right.
and out of Ohio originally.
Okay, okay. All right, and so you were talking about your father drove a bus. Like, what year do you remember him
Oh, boy.
starting the bus thing? Just roughly, just,
He first started out with Chambers Truck Line hauling cattle.
okay.
And then he graduated, went on up into the bus line, and I don't know, I was still young when he did that, maybe 10 years or 12 years, I don't know.
Yeah, But,
And then bus line he drove for a while, and then pretty soon Greyhound bought out the Davis bus line in Harlan. And then he went with Greyhound and drove that for about 35, 40 years.
but I'm sure you remember your dad getting home and having some stories about people riding on the bus, or
Oh,
maybe
he had a
just-
few stories, but we didn't see him only once in a while. He'd come through Oakland and on the bus and stop, pick up pasture. Well, then we'd always try to meet him, get a nickel or get some money a little bit, so he'd buy candy.
Yeah, there you go.
But-
Okay, so you obviously had a very close relationship with your grandparents.
My grandparents.
What are some of the things that stood out in your mind being a young boy with your grandparents?
I tell you, they were they strict, but they got a kick out of us. I mean, I was probably one of the child in the family that always kind of was tinkering around raising hell
Oh, really?
and doing little dinky things, but nothing destructive.
Yeah, exactly.
But they always got a chuckle out of what I would do until I did something wrong, and then I'd get my butt whipped.
Yeah, but then
And they wasn't scared to whip it either.
yeah, that's right. But you learned,
So
right?
I learned the hard way, and
You probably did a lot of things once.
once that was about it.
Okay, let's talk about your country school experience. Did you go to country school?
Country school, no. We
Okay.
walked a mile and a half to school in Oakland every day.
Okay, so you walked in almost, okay.
Yeah.
So did your grandparents have an automobile back in those days?
They had an old one, but they never took us to school or nothing like that. We'd have to go to church in, or if the weather was bad, we took the bobsled and the horses or a wagon and team.
Okay,
And see, the roads are all muddy there. There's no gravel, no nothing.
of course,
And
that's
so
right.
we always went to church every Sunday morning.
Every Sunday
Every
morning.
Sunday morning, we never missed.
And what church did you go to?
First Christian Church, or
Okay.
the Christian Church here in Oakland.
In Oakland, okay. Okay, so what are some of the things you remember about going to town on Saturday night? You said you get a nickel or a 10
We
cents?
got a dime, and I had split that with my sister, so we each got a few pennies. But the main thing in going to Oakland is that my brother was manager of the fruit and grocery store,
Oh, really? Okay,
and that was Harry, the oldest one.
okay,
Well, I went to work for them when I was just a kid, picking up eggs out of cars
yeah,
and bringing them into the store.
okay,
People would then take their eggs and exchange them for groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'd have to fill the grocery order that they ordered and put it in the egg basket, take it back out, set it beside the window, and then when they drove up to go home, or the wagon, or however they did, we'd take the groceries, put them in the bag in the car, and they'd take off for home.
you remember where you got paid to do that?
I think it's like 10 cents.
Okay, 10 cents for
A
Saturday
night.
Yeah,
A
okay,
night.
at night.
But anyway, and then I got down to where I made, I think, $1 a month. But I'd go in every Wednesday and Saturday night and do that. And pretty soon I got transferred inside where I filled the orders and took orders and filled them and done this and that. it got to where I'd write it down, a sheet of paper of orders.
Yeah.
I could turn around and add that faster than they could with an ad machine.
I hear ya.
It's just experience is what it did, but I was always good and sharp in figures.
Okay, so you had to work all the time. You couldn't go out and run around?
I had to work all the time. I didn't get time to...
You couldn't go out and run around with your buddies on Saturday night, Wednesday night?
No.
Okay, did you ever get to go to a picture show?
Once in a great while.
Okay, once in a great while.
Once in a great while. Then I used to sneak into that once in a while.
Really? Did you ever get caught?
Well, until they caught me, and then I had to pay a nickel.
Had to pay a nickel. Well, what if you didn't have a nickel?
Then I got booted on out.
Hey, there you go. All right. Those are good stories.
It was interesting.
So did they have a nice movie theater in Oakland?
They had a very good one there. And, Brookings, I think, owned it. People that Hockenberry owned it ahead of that.
Okay, I got you.
I'm trying to think of the names here.
Okay, well, that's hard to do. I mean, that's just a couple of years back, kind of. Okay, a couple of years back is what that is, obviously.
And then I worked, like I say, the grocery store every Saturday and Wednesday nights, and Saturdays sometimes if I wasn't busy out home on the farm or doing something.
Did you ever have any accidents out on the farm when you were a young kid working? Did you ever get hurt? You remember?
Fell off the horse.
Yeah, okay.
And that's common. I smashed one finger.
Yeah.
And I gave my sister hell because I was going to open the gate. Yeah. She shoved the gate open, and the gate was never tight. They were always loose.
Yeah.
And my finger caught in between the
Ouch.
bar and just smashed it flat.
And that's not fun.
I still got the scar here.
Yeah. Did you go to the doctor?
Yeah, I had to go to the doctor. He gave me hell.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, okay.
Such is life. But anyway, we had that. Then we had all of our chores to do. The animals to take care of. And
so did your grandmother have a great big garden in those days?
We always had a big garden. We had to work in that, and we had probably one of the nicest orchard around Oakland. Okay. It was about a block big.
Really?
All full of fruit trees, and that's where we got our fruit and prunes and your plums.
So you remember your grandparents spraying those trees in the spring?
Yeah, we did that.
And you had to prune them?
We didn't have spray. We didn't have spray a long time ago, so we had to knock them off, some of them, and kill them.
Yeah, well, whatever you had to do.
And the bugs, and the same way with the tater bugs.
Okay, so do you remember celebrations like this is county fair season? Did you ever go to the county fair?
County fair, we went to the county fair very seldom. Because we'd have to, it was up in the Volca.
Right.
And we'd have to get there somehow.
Yeah, and that wasn't that easy to get there.
Once in a while, the neighbors maybe would take a few of us and go.
Okay. So let's talk about your school days. Did you have one teacher that really stuck out in your mind that was really very special when you were in grade school? Really got your attention?
Well, it's a story, but there's two or three of them.
Okay.
I was always getting along okay with teachers, but I still was an ornery little devil. But
we heard that a little earlier.
Sadie White, if you remember her, Sadie White, Warren White's wife. She's from Oakland. She taught me in the second grade.
Oh, really?
And in the second grade, out home on the farm, her husband Warren didn't work at all. He looked after his farm, but he would always run the scales for us.
Okay.
And so I got to kidding him about dating my teacher.
Oh, really? And
she didn't like it when I come to school the next day or so. And so she took a ruler to my hands.
Oh, yeah?
And smashed my hands. I hold her and she'd smash my hands and told me not to do it anymore. And I told her what I thought. That didn't work out.
So anyway, she made you stay after school, or she tell your grandparents?
I've been after school many times. But anything I'd done at school, I always called hell at home because I had my sisters and brothers were all ahead of me.
Yeah, and they were all.
So when I got in trouble, I had to sit in the hall. Yeah. They'd be the first ones home, or if I got a whipping in school, I got one at home. Yeah.
But you hear that?
Never failed.
Yeah, but people like to say that back in the old days, you got in trouble at school, you got in more trouble when you got home.
That is
and then they'll say that doesn't happen anymore.
Dick Harris and I were often good friends. We were chummy together and run together, and we fought together.
Yeah.
We'd somebody get in a fight, we'd both of us take on whoever fought. One of them was Dean Davenport, was a big bully and all that. Then we had to go in the schoolhouse after that. And I did something sometime. And then I had to go to the principal of the superintendent's office, McIntyre.
Yeah.
He threatened to give me a whipping.
Oh, really?
And I went down, he says, I'm gonna give you a whipping, and I says, oh, okay. He says, do you want an hour after school? And I said, well, I'd prefer taking it at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I went down at 4 o'clock to take my whipping.
Yeah.
I talked him out of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so-
You're thinking all the time,
All the time,
day.
so I talked him out of the whipping, but I got one when I got home.
So when you would get home, they used to talk about taking you out to the cob shed or the wood shed, or
We never got there,
You never got there.
but it is true, the strap hung in the cob shed.
Yeah.
Usually.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about Saturday night. We've talked about the big garden your grandmother would have, right?
We had an awful big garden because we were feeding about, what would it be, about 7, 8, 9. My grandmother cooked for all of them all the
A
time.
lot of people. And you remember that old cook stove in that kitchen?
Yeah, she the old cook stove set, and it's quite a story on the old cook stove too, by the way.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, we had the old cook stove there, and my nieces, which were the Kobe girls in Oakland, there's 5 of them. 2 of them are doing what they call the history at the,
Yeah.
and they were back to Ohio to check out the history as it went through. They went into this, well, I seen one elderly lady in this town, the hometown where the Hummels were at, and they started talking to her. And she never said a word about the Hummel part.
Yeah.
But anyway, they said they wanted to look at the house where they were raised. And she told them where it was at. They went down and knocked on the door later, and this lady come to the door. She was part of the poverty relation of the Hummels. And the old kitchen stove, like identical to what we had at home, was sitting in there.
Are you kidding me? Oh, wow. That's,
And they took pictures of that and everything like that. So it goes way back into the country a long time ago.
but that's fun though. Do you remember cobs or coal or wood in that country stove that your grandmother cooked on?
We had mostly wood we'd use, and then we had coal, and in the cob house we'd have it full of cobs. We'd fill it full of cobs every time we'd shell corn.
Right.
And then we'd have the coal, we'd go to town and put it in the wagon, bring it back home, throw it in the corner of the building.
Right.
And then the wood, we had that stacked inside and outside. So we were pretty well covered for the winter time with the old heating belly stove. You'd back up to that with your long johns on, and then
There you go.
run like hell upstairs. It's a 2-story house, and we'd wake up with frost on the covers, and we were blowed in
Yep.
and cold.
You remember the winter of '36? You would have been 12 years old then.
I remember that.
Okay. Everyone says that was an awful winter.
It was really deep and cold. A lot of snow. Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of your favorite holiday memories growing up on that farm, Kenneth?
Oh, holidays mainly I think was probably Christmas.
Yeah.
We didn't have much time for other things. I would celebrate birthdays, of course. My grandmother, she cooked every Sunday for the family. If you had no place to go, you always come home.
Yeah.
And home was where my granddad and grandmother lived.
Right.
So we'd have Sunday dinners every Sunday, and my relatives around, they'd come, aunt and uncles, and they each had one of our children, or my sister's brothers, and they'd bring it. So we all got together pretty much, so.
Now, were your grandparents your dad's parents or your mother's parents?
That's my dad's parents.
Okay, all right, so your dad would come, he'd be there for holidays?
He'd come maybe a little bit once in a while when you get a day off or half a time. And
Right.
he was driving, I remember, mainly for Greyhound at that time. And then my other family was the granddad Turner.
Uh-huh.
And all the Turners in Avoca and around were all relation.
Okay, all right.
One of them was Attorney General, I think, of Iowa.
All right, okay.
So.
Well, there you go.
I always called him Cousin Dick or something like that. He always didn't like that too well.
He didn't like it too well, but you didn't care, right?
I didn't
You just
care.
kept on going. Okay, time out. Okay. All right, we're back again after a little break here we had. Okay, any special toys you got for Christmas when you were a kid that you remember, Kenneth?
Oh, we usually got mostly clothes that we
Okay.
could use.
And that would be very typical. I mean,
And then my brother Don,
Mhm.
which had the insurance company here in Oakland,
right?
and he worked for Rodwell for a while, but one Christmas he gave me a BB gun.
Really?
And that just tickled the hell out of me. I mean, that's probably one of the nicest things I've ever gotten.
But I bet you never got in trouble with the BB gun.
Well, I did. I shot my uncle in the butt.
Oh, really? When he's bending over, or he's just standing straight?
He took me off the horse I was on and
Yeah.
beat the hell out of me,
You did?
which I didn't do it again.
Yeah.
But anyway.
What'd you get in trouble for? How come he took you off the
Oh,
horse?
we got in a little argument. He was my uncle that come up from Missouri and a hired man actually. And then he
really?
married my aunt.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And so then he was farming there, helping us out. And he wanted something done, and I didn't want to do it, or vice versa. I don't remember. But anyway, we got into it.
So did you ever get your BB gun taken away?
No, not really. I hit it a few times.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you have to do, anything to survive. Okay,
Back to another time I got in trouble. Actually, I helped after we moved off the farm, I helped my cousin, which is Richard Killian, Dick Killian, Ralph Killian and Elma as my aunt and uncle. And then he had a brother by the name of Donnie, and we were always picking on him.
Yeah.
So we was doing our milking or getting the chores ready to do out there, and I just stayed there maybe 30 days or so to help out. Anyway, we got in trouble with Donnie, and so anyway, he went running to the house to tell his dad. So we in turn, we knew exactly what he was going to do. He's going to come out and get the cattle whip, and then he's going to whip our ass.
Yeah.
So we took the cattle whip, we threw it clear up in the hay mow.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't find it.
Was he mad?
He never did find it, but he was mad. And he gave us hell, and he never gave us a beating that night, but I think he was still hunting that cattle whip. But it showed up later.
You were quite the kid, weren't you?
Oh, honoring us, just honoring us.
Yeah, there you go.
Nothing destructive like they are today.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So,
Okay, let's go to high school now. What were some of the activities you were involved in high school?
I started playing basketball and football and baseball, all of them.
Okay.
In my freshman year in particular, and I made the team. Well, I made the team that fall, that winter, but I didn't start with the team, but somebody got hurt or something, they come and asked me.
Right.
And so I went and started playing basketball right away.
Okay.
I think we even played against Martins here.
Well, that's probably exactly right.
That's probably what hurt me.
And we won't ask you what the score was or who won.
No, I couldn't remember.
Okay, were you a singer or were you in the band?
I was in the glee club.
Okay.
I was the head role in several plays we had.
Okay.
Like in Henry Aldridge and What's My Life. You ever remember that one?
I remember that.
I was Henry.
Okay.
Henry Aldridge.
You remember any of your lines yet?
Another one, Coming Mother or something like that. What was that one?
We won't mess around with that anymore.
But there was several plays I was in, and then that I was in the glee clubs.
Okay.
And sang in that.
What class came really easy for you in high school? What class were you really good at? What study?
Oh, I really wasn't that great in any. I mean, I studying. I could have probably done better.
Yeah.
But C was happy.
Yeah.
So I got C's.
Yeah. Well,
once in a while
okay.
I hit a B. Once in a while I hit a D.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
my sisters were all valedictorians and head people, smart. They were.
Well, the whole point is you could have been, but you had other things you wanted to do.
But I just didn't do it. I didn't care to push it.
I can't wait to hear about the first time you drove a car.
First time I drove a car?
Yep, or a tractor. Well, let's talk about the car. I think that's probably got a little bit more promise.
It was an old one.
Yeah.
And my uncle's the one that let me drive. No, let's take that back. My brother-in-law to be, Lyle Bates,
Right.
was the first one to let me drive his car. It was a Chevy. He come to visit my sister,
Yeah.
and he let me drive the car a little bit out in the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I did pretty good with it because I drove tractors out there and the farm, and
Of course.
so I done pretty good with it. But
But you never
the first time I took my driver's license test, I was 16 years old, and thank God today I haven't had any accidents. But Don Damford used to be in Oakland, worked for my brother at the grocery store.
Right.
He went with the highway patrol, and he started giving driver's license and so forth. And I had to go to Avoca to take my test. which I did. I went up there. I got all done. I thought I'd done pretty good. And he told me, he says, Ken, you flunked. And my heart went clear to my shoes.
I'm sure.
And then pretty soon he says, you know, I was just kidding you.
And then you wanted to kill him.
And that went pretty good until probably just a couple of years ago. I had a accident, but it wasn't my fault. The guy pulled in front of me till I was turned into a private driveway. He come around me and parked and pulled right in front of me and hit my whole front end.
Whoops.
The cops drove it up wrong.
Oh, really?
Said I hit him.
Oops.
So I called my insurance company. We never did pay on it, nothing like that. Insurance company, and finally they called me in for a driver's test. And he said, I said, what the hell am I doing here on a driver's test? Well, you must have had an accident. I said, no, I didn't have one. Somebody else did. And she said, well, we got you down here. And I said, look at the damn report. And I pointed out to her. I said, that's what happened. This police officer didn't know what he's doing. I said, I worked more accidents when I was on the police department than this guy ever thought of working. I said, I know what the hell's right and what's wrong. So anyway, well, you're going to take a driver's test. Okay. I got in the car. Let's see, what did I have? Well, I had my pickup. And it wasn't this, I had my pickup. Yeah, I had my business. No, but anyway, I had my pickup. I started out the driveway where they give the driver's test here at the mall. Turned, went up, went all the way around, stopped when she told me, turned when I wanted to, got through, car done. She says, Ken, you flunked. I said, what the hell are you talking about flunked? I've done what you told me. She says, yeah, but the speed limit says 16 or 15 miles an hour. You done 20. I said, come off of it. And the person said, well, when can I take it again? She said, well, you can take it tomorrow if you want to. Fine. So the next day I come back, I brought the car. The car has the speedometer in the windshield too. Tells you how many miles you're doing. We jumped in, we sat down, and I looked at her, she rattled off her crap that she was telling me, and I said, now, did you bring your lunch? What do you mean lunch? I says, it's going to take us a couple damn days to get around here where that you're telling me, because I'm going to go exactly the speed limit says on that windshield. I said, we may be back tomorrow, we may be back tonight, it just depends on how fast we can get there.
Now, was it the same?
She started laughing a little bit.
Was it the same person?
Same person.
Okay, all right.
So we started laughing a little, she did. She said, well, we'll make it. So anyway, I did, and I done okay, I passed it.
Well, congratulations.
And then we sat there afterwards and talked for about an hour. She wanted to talk, she wanted to joke. I said, well, I'm just trying to tell you where I was at. I said, I don't mess with your rules, I abide by them. So anyway, such a life.
Well, that was an interesting story. We all of a sudden we went ahead about 60 years, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good story, okay? And I'm sure people are going to enjoy hearing that.
Well, you got to drive for yourself and drive for everybody else.
That's exactly
so
right.
So you watch what you do. On the police department, we go through town at 70, 80, 90 mile an hour, but we had a siren, we had that. Some people don't know what the hell to do except stop, you know. Well, move. You don't stop in front of the police cruiser.
No, that'd be bad.
Get the hell out of the road. So, anyway, it's been exciting.
Okay. All right. So you graduate in what year now?
1942.
1942. Okay. So we're going to back up just a couple of years. December 7th, 1941. Where were you on Pearl Harbor Sunday?
I was probably living in Oakland, I think. I moved off the farm, I think in 40 or right around there someplace.
Right.
We had a sale.
Okay.
So I was living probably in Oakland. The exact moment where I was at, I don't know. I don't remember.
But had you, in school, had you heard that Hitler had invaded Poland and all this crap?
Oh, I kept up with the news as you went along, you know, and this and that.
Were you thinking to yourself, you know, if we have
I knew I was going to probably have to go sometime.
Right. Okay.
But I didn't know whether what. I wasn't going to enlist. I said they can draft me.
They can come and find you. Right.
So they did. They drafted me. In 1943, I went into service, and I had to register ahead of that prior to that. But I graduated in 42. I went into service in 43. I had to go to Avoca.
Okay.
They took us from Avoca to Fort Crook.
I'm going to ask you all that stuff, so we're going to go through that in order.
Yes, we will.
Okay, now, you graduate in May of 1942, and you're thinking, on down the line, they know where I am, I'm not going to enlist, I know there's a war going on, both in the South Pacific and in Europe. So what did you do for work when you got out of high school?
Oh, I could say I helped my uncles on the farms, and then I'd work in the grocery store.
Okay. Because you started
Saturdays and Wednesdays.
Because you started working there when you were a young kid.
When I was young there, I started working my senior and junior years with my relatives. My uncle Max Hummel, you might know him.
Okay.
And him and I, he was just like a brother to us in the family.
Okay.
So he had married this gal that had a farm, and her dad had a farm, so they farmed. I helped them farm all 1 year.
Okay.
And that.
So you're going along, and every chance you get, you're probably listening to the radio. And let's go back to the Pearl Harbor thing. When you heard it, you said, okay. Do you remember the experience or the response from your grandparents when they heard that?
Well, they had the old-time radios, and we sat there and probably listened to that a lot and so forth. But
did electricity come to the farm when you were out there? Do you remember that, Kenneth?
I don't remember where it come when I was there. We still went with our lanterns and lights.
Yeah.
Seemed like we did.
Probably lanterns.
And they were, REA was the first to come out that way, so they might have been building them in that area sometime. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, so you get your mail, all of a sudden you see this thing from the United States government, the Army. How did you feel when you saw that envelope?
It says, welcome, we need you.
That's what it said, okay. And it wasn't from the Army,
so,
Department of the Army?
So I guess I don't remember where I went, but had to go in. They have what they call a draft board in Oakland.
Right.
And I don't remember who all sat on that. Grant Harris, I think, sat on it. I don't remember who all did on it. Anyway.
Did you think at all about the Marine Corps, the Army, the Navy, the Air Corps, or?
No, I just figured I'd let them
Army?
take me and take.
Okay.
So
All right. Okay.
as they took me,
And you reported where?
I reported to Avoca.
Okay.
Avoca, from there they hauled us into Fort Crook.
Right,
I
okay.
think it was up there in Omaha.
In Omaha, right.
And then out of Fort Crook, we went they shipped us down to Leavenworth, Fort Leavenworth.
Do you remember, how'd you get there, by train or by bus to Kansas?
I think that was by bus going down there.
Okay, and by this time you knew you were in the United States Army, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they inducted us in Omaha.
Okay, and you had your physicals in Omaha then?
Yeah, we
Okay.
had all that stuff.
Did any of your friends go with you that you remember during that?
Oh, there was
particular trip?
I didn't know too many people at all. Like one of them, I was trying to think, was a preacher's son, Bob Green.
Okay.
Bob Green went in.
All right.
And he went down to Camp Polk same time we did.
Okay, all right.
And I was trying to think of some others, but I don't remember.
So you're Leavenworth or Leavenworth?
Leavenworth, we went into
Okay.
Leavenworth first, and then they interviewed us again there, and so forth. At that time is when I got shipped to Camp Polk, because they wanted to know what I did. I said, well, I was raised on a farm driving a tractor.
Right.
I drove that and done this and that, and he said, well, you could drive a tank then, couldn't you? I said,
Whoa.
I suppose,
So
why?
this is even before basic training started? Okay.
So they sent me down to Camp Polk, Louisiana, North Camp Polk, Louisiana. I was in 43.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about your first impressions of Camp Polk, Louisiana.
It was just a regular barracks and training fields and
Yeah?
bare ground and crap ground,
Okay, all right.
bios and swamp ground.
Yeah, and
And
probably,
at that time, they said, well, you're now in the tank corps, so we started in learning all about the tanks and this and that and everything about them. And
so had you started taking basic training yet?
yeah,
Kenneth? Okay.
started taking.
So how long was your basic training? You remember?
Usually, I think it was supposed to be about 6 weeks in the tanks, and
Yeah.
then doing this. Then we went to another phase and another
It's
phase.
amazing, they put you right in the tanks right away.
Right away.
So
And I
just-
started driving, learned how to drive one right away, which it wasn't too long, and I was instructing the other people.
Okay.
So I was an instructor in the tanks after a few months, I'd say probably.
Yeah, but I can tell by talking to you, you had a lot of determination and you enjoyed being in charge of things and you knew what you were doing almost all the time.
So
Okay.
anyway, I was instructor then for the tanks there, and the first one we started out with, that is an old Chrysler
Okay.
tank. It was so damn, it's hard to drive. You just had your two levers. You had no brakes.
Is that a double?
Had your clutch and the gas.
Were there two motors in it?
There was the twin engines type.
Okay, all right. Twin engine.
And the old style, and we got to where you couldn't even change gears, you had to kick it in gear with your feet.
So were the fumes bad inside that thing?
Not that bad, really.
Yeah, okay.
They pretty well funneled out. But
So when you were driving, that was a hard ride in there, right?
it was a hard ride. They were all hard.
Yeah, okay. So what was the actual kind of the first tank that you got in and learned how to drive? What was remember the numbers of it or the name of it, or it wasn't the Sherman,
I
right away, was it?
don't. No, it wasn't Sherman. It was the old Chrysler two-bank. I call it two-bank, but then it's a twin engine.
Okay, all right, fine.
But I learned that, and then I started driving that, and then they switched that pretty reasonable quick to what they call the radial engine.
Right.
It was the M4A1s or A3s, and they had the radial engines, which is a big airplane engine.
Right.
That you had to keep. There was a 450 horse also,
Jeez.
but you had to keep it revved up to keep the engine cool. So they knew whenever he was coming anywhere, here he come, like an airplane.
So you got like an accelerator in that thing?
Oh yeah, I got an
And
accelerator.
you got your two levers?
Two levers, no brakes.
Okay, no brakes.
Your brakes are your levers. You pulled at both levers and locked the tracks.
Oh, man, so was that radial engine in the Sherman tank then?
The
Okay.
radio engine was in the Sherman tank,
Okay.
and then also they come out later in England, we got Ford tanks.
Okay,
And that was two V8 450 horse engines. in that.
but that was still in the Sherman tank?
That
though?
was still a Sherman
Okay,
tank,
okay,
right?
all right.
They
okay.
call them M4A1s and M4A3s.
So did you like those engines better, the
The
Ford?
Ford tank is much better.
Okay, all right.
The main thing with the radio engines, and they all had governors on. You couldn't go too fast, about like 20, 23.
Were they hard to start?
Huh?
Were they hard to start, those radial
No, they
engines?
started out pretty easy.
Yeah,
They-
okay.
They crank up good.
All right.
And, but the Ford tanks, and well, first of all, the radio engines down in Louisiana, if you ever got caught breaking the governors, you got court-martialed. Well, they never did court-martial us because we broke the governors immediately.
I can't believe that you would try and do something like that.
It was our butt, not their butt.
Yeah, there you go.
So, same thing with England. When we got over to England, got the Fords, we broke the governors immediately. You get them going real fast, and you throw them down in low gear and slide out the clutch, and it snaps the governor.
Okay, all right.
Simple.
Simple. We're going to take a little
But
break
anyway.
here. Okay, we're back again, and we're talking with getting a lot of interesting stories here with Kenneth. And once again, I just really appreciate the fact that you've been so honest throughout this whole thing. And you guys knew exactly how to break the governors on those tanks. And you're saying to yourself, hey, look, if I want to go faster, if somebody's chasing me, I need to have that opportunity.
I want to have it right.
Because I may not have another chance.
So, once we break the governor on them, we could get them up at maybe like another 5-10 mile an hour at the most.
Which is quite a bit.
That's quite a bit for a tank, yeah.
So how long was your basic training? How many weeks do you think?
Oh, we went through it a couple times down there because we was in North Camp Polk,
Okay.
and we hated it every time, and I think we went out like 3 or 4 months at a time here and there doing this. We were kind of actually in a training field too,
Right.
training other recruits.
Okay.
And as we trained them and so forth, I used to drive, and I can't remember what it was. It seemed like it might have been the radio engine or it might have been the old one, but I drove a target practice. It's shooting 30 caliber shells at me.
Okay.
And they just sound like hail.
I mean, they're actually
tanks and-
shooting actual.
I was down in the valley,
Yeah.
and the gunners were all over shooting at me. And-
So was the whole crew in there when they were shooting at you?
Huh?
Was the whole crew in the tank when they were shooting at you?
My
or-
tank crew in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the tank commander at all times, the tank commander. in there.
Right. Okay.
And so anyway, I'd drive down across the valley and they'd rattle off the shells. And that was part of the target practice for the people up above.
Oh man.
They could hit us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, that worked out pretty good.
Okay. All right. So how hot did it get inside that tank? Did it get awfully
pretty
hot?
hot.
Okay.
Pretty
All right.
hot,
I'm sure.
yeah.
Was there any ventilation
And they
at
got
all?
cold in the winter.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
Was there any ventilation in there at all?
Oh, you had a few vents, but they wasn't much.
Did-
A little vent or-
Okay, so there obviously was no heater. The heat would come off whatever the motor.
You
put
got
out.
a little heat out the engine if you come, but that was, your final drive was always up into the center.
Okay, all right.
And so that's
Okay.
where you got a little heat off that. We used to heat coffee and our sea rations on it.
All right, okay.
And they never got too hot, but then at least that's what we did.
Okay, so let's talk about when you got your orders to go overseas. And do you remember when that might have been in 1943, Kenneth? You got your orders to go overseas?
We got it in 44
Okay.
area.
Okay. All
I
right.
spent just right at 3 years all total.
Okay.
Overseas about 17,
Mhm.
and at home about 18.
Okay, all right.
It figures out
Okay.
just about
Okay.
3 years.
So
all
what port did you go to depart for overseas?
We went to Kilmer, New Jersey.
Okay, and you remember how you got there? Was it train?
No,
or
we went
bus
by
or-
train.
Okay, by train.
And they never tell you anything,
Okay, of course.
because you always went at shipping at nighttime.
Mhm.
Trains always ran at night. They'd
Okay.
take the odd tracks,
Mhm.
and it'd get you there, the back roads all
All right.
in one piece, we hope.
Okay.
But-
So where did the tank commander sit in the tank?
Tank
Okay.
commander set the tank up on the top here on the right-hand side.
So he was also a machine gunner?
He
Okay.
he had to operate the 50 caliber if
Okay.
he
Okay.
had a chance and he wanted to stick his neck out
Yeah,
and
okay.
do it.
Okay. Gotcha.
He set up and stood up right here. He had a little chair that flopped down. He could sit down as he shut the tank
Okay.
turret. As he shut this turret here,
Uh-huh.
he could sit down inside.
Did you have any earphones or anything? You
We
could
had
hear what he said?
radio
Okay.
radio
All right.
phones,
Okay.
but for radio use only.
Yeah.
It didn't stop the gun shells or the noise or anything
Okay.
like
All
that.
right. Okay. Okay, so how many days did it take you to get across the pond, as they say? Do you remember?
It took us, I think, 17 days to go across the pond.
Okay. And what kind of a boat were you on? How many people were on that boat?
What the hell, I used to remember the name of it.
That's okay.
But it was a merchant marine.
Merchant Marine.
Merchant
Okay.
Marine, I think it was.
There's like 5,000 or 6,000 troops on there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
at least.
At least that.
Okay.
And,
How was the food on that trip?
well,
overseas?
it was sloppy. I mean, good.
But it was sloppy, right? I
But
mean,
we ate, they used to have, or did have, they had troughs along the boat.
right?
You'd grab your food and go set it on the trough.
Mhm.
And the trough is there if you wanted to heave in it
Yeah,
for seasickness, and that's where a lot of them eat. After you was
Yeah.
trying to eat, it was heaving.
yeah,
So you moved the hell out of there.
yeah. There you moved to a different
But the
place.
first couple of days out there, I thought, geez, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I bought a whole bunch of cigars. I was gonna smoke cigars and just sit there like a big king. Second day out, I threw away the cigars, went down to the KP kitchen. I
Yeah.
volunteered for kitchen work.
Oh, really? You said.
So I went in there and I
Yeah.
peeled taters. I done whatever I had to. I was a sergeant,
Yeah,
but I went in there and I volunteered for it.
yeah.
I said, the hell with this noise. You keep your belly full, you don't get sick.
That's what they say, and that's true.
So that's
huh?
what I did.
Okay. Do you remember having to zigzag for German U-boats at all? Do you remember having
Yeah,
to
we
do
did that. We also broke down, the engine broke down and we got left behind. Black flag went up
Uh-huh.
and they all went on off without us.
So a black flag goes up, so that means
we're
they-
out of, that means we're out of trouble.
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
Yeah,
But sooner or later, we got it running again,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and we missed the boats and stuff that was out there. We missed a lot of them. We never got any problems.
so the German U-boats would have shot at you guys anyway, black flag or not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. They
okay,
wouldn't, they
yeah,
don't mess with that.
Yeah, exactly, especially with that many American troops.
But
on
we were
board.
lucky they were that close until
Yeah.
we got going again, then we caught back up with our outfit.
Okay, all right.
But,
Okay.
so
All right, so where did you land when you got over there?
we landed in Southampton,
Okay, all right,
New England,
okay.
and then we went from there up to what they call Tidworth.
Mhm.
I don't know whether that was a little town or the barracks, barracks. But we went there, and it was cold. And,
So you got there what month out of the year, do you think?
Yeah, I think it was probably in the fall.
Okay, the fall of 44?
Before,
Okay, fall of 44.
yeah.
Okay.
So-
Now, did they have new tanks waiting there for you?
They had the new tanks come in right away, and then we grabbed them off, and then we had to go get the constantly out of the guns, clean up the tanks, clean up everything, get them all running.
Were those new tanks easier to drive, or?
About the same to drive and give it, they were a little bit better, and a little bigger maybe, a little bit, and a little more roomier, but you still had the same old hole you had to jump in.
Exactly. So did you have the same crew that you had over here?
Same crew.
Okay, so you guys, your crew got to go over on the ship?
Yeah.
Okay, together?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we were all together, the whole tank company and everybody.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so how long were you in England before they transferred you?
Oh, it was a few weeks there, And I can't remember the day or the time, but we landed in Le Havre. We were shipped out then off of there. Once we got the guns and all and got everything done, we were ready to go.
Okay.
So then they were starting the big splurge over there.
Right.
So we took and they shipped us out. We landed in Le Havre, France. Not Omaha. Omaha was just up the line a little ways.
Right.
And so we landed in Le Havre, France, and then we drove from Le Havre on into France, and the roads are all snowy and icy and stuff like that.
So you're getting there now in the fall of '44. Did you see a lot of carnage? I mean, you saw a lot of
damage, a lot of
destruction.
damage.
Okay.
We've seen a lot of people still laying in the ground yet this later.
And German troops mainly?
A lot of troops and Germans as well as Americans. And
do you remember anything about what the French people thought about
they
you?
were glad to see us,
Okay,
but you didn't
right.
have time to stand and kiss their fan.
Exactly. So you guys are, how many tanks, I mean, you had, how many tanks in a tank battalion? Or what?
Okay, all total in tank battalion, we had 15 tanks, which are 3 or 5 in each platoon. That's 15. Then we had the captain's tank, and then they had another tank, which is a bulldozer. That's what I drove for a while.
Bulldozer, okay.
Bulldozer tank, which cleaned the minefields
Yeah, okay.
as you went along. That's another story.
Okay. Well, let's hear it. That's gotta be a good
Well,
story. So that means you're at the very, very front?
Actually, your tank, the bulldozer part sat right in front
Right.
of the tank here, hooked on underneath here, and it was run hydraulically, but you couldn't, like a bulldozer today, you couldn't quite do everything they do.
Right.
But you could turn it a little one way or the other. And up and down, that's about
Yeah.
it, that's all. And so
But you're going along and
you're
then,
going along and they get in trouble or the infantry gets knocked down or something and their mines up there, we got called to go clean them up.
how come you think you were in the old bulldozer tank at the very, very beginning? How did you get picked for that duty? Your crew?
I don't know,
Okay. You're
but
just,
anyway, I don't know, we got it.
okay. So now it begs the question.
I had a little training in the States there with
Yeah.
it, so that's the reason I suppose
Okay.
I got it back over there.
Okay.
Same thing, but,
So how many mines do you think you hit?
Oh.
When you were doing that?
how many mine or how
Yeah.
many minefields?
No, how many minefields?
Oh, geez.
I mean, when those mines went off, what happened to the tank?
It blew the hell out of you. I mean, you'd raise you up off the ground and
Okay.
so forth, but your blade was out in front.
Okay.
It usually took the blunder of it a lot.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
So did some of those mines like knock your, the tracks off at all?
No.
Okay,
No,
that never happened,
never
okay.
Another occasion there, we were called up on a minefield there one time, and there's another one, I'm gonna say platoon, or one company, I don't think it was that big. It was a platoon or a company, it could have been, but anyway, was all black with a white lieutenant commander.
Really, okay.
On this one occasion, they were called to go up and clean that minefield. They refused to go.
Really?
They said, we're not going out there, we'll get shot. We're gonna, there we go. No, but they rattled on. And the lieutenant could never get them to go out there, so they called us up. And we went out and cleaned it out. But that's a good example of what has happened or what did happen, you know, in them days.
Okay, well, that's surprising to me that happened, but you would think they could court-martial them or something like that?
I don't know what happened to him,
Yeah.
we never seen him anymore.
Right, okay.
So,
So he just messed around, I've gotta have somebody clear this out, we gotta have people to
and
do
the
it.
infantry could go.
Go do it, okay.
And we got called up on other tanks, and then I got up there one time, another deal, and they got, the German 88s were probably the best gun ever made. They were more sharper, more deadly than anything going. And we got, on this one occasion to go up there, and we got hemmed in with the 88s, 3 different ways. And we were sitting by an old house, which is a little bit lower
Yeah,
than the 88s could not come down. They could go over the top a little bit.
yeah,
And I know one time I was outside the tank and the damn 88 come in and I dove under the tank.
yeah.
The shrapnel landed right by my butt.
Oh, man.
It didn't hit me.
Yeah.
And I got on the road of it, but I got under that tank fast. So, but that's how deadly they were.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how long after you landed in France did the first action happen? I mean, that you recall,
That
roughly?
handled, and I got all these books
Okay,
here.
right. But
And
just
handled,
go through as you can remember.
I think it's right up around Poster Hold, Holland. that we got into it first.
That would have been like a week after you landed?
Oh,
or
I'm going to
maybe
say
longer?
probably a little longer than that, because we had to drive. We drove from there, well, we drove clear through France, and then we went through Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg, and Germany. That's all the states that we hit.
Okay, talk to us about
Country, rather.
how in the world you would eat. I mean, here you are, you've got breakfast time, you've got noon time, you've got dinner time. How did you eat? Did you just eat whenever you could?
You ate whenever the food came, or whenever you had time, that's
All
all.
right. Okay,
There were many times we didn't even get to eat all day.
okay, all right.
But
So-
we had C rations and K rations. Usually we would bivouac down at the kitchen with us
Okay.
there close by.
All right.
And so we used to get our mess kits and go in there a certain amount of a certain time, so any shells hit, they wouldn't take the whole damn company.
So by this time, the Nazis were on the run.
They were right across the road from us on the other sides.
Okay.
They were
All right.
running back
So
and forth.
what was your first experience with the 88, the German 88? Okay, we're back again, and we're talking about the ferociousness of the German 88 millimeter. Okay, now that was in their Tiger tank or their...
The Tiger tanks also had the 88s.
All right, okay.
And they were also placement guns, the 88s. Like-
Now, okay, so when you would pull into, and we were talking about you had to eat, drink whenever you could. Okay, you had the rations in there, and you know, it wasn't like, okay, Germans, we're gonna take time out to eat now. That's not the way it was, okay?
No.
I mean, okay, so you thought it was probably at least a couple of weeks before you experienced your first
Probably a
action.
couple weeks on our way up to the area.
Okay,
But they called us up because of the mountains, the Harz, or the Harrigan Mountains there, the forest up there that we were in. They were the Germans were making a drive there, and of course we made it there. And in those days too, back in there, we'd go into a small town, or we'd take a small town, and if we were going to stay in that town, we'd pick out a house and throw the people out and just take the house over. And that's where we slept or stayed in the house or so forth. Then the kitchen would kind of put a circle around all of us, and they'd serve out of their truck, the 6x6 truck.
so when you go up to a house and you say, hey, we're American soldiers, get out, we're staying here.
They didn't argue.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
But we made some friends, you know, German people, you know,
But then-
they were a lot of nice ones there.
As soon as you left, then they could have their house back.
They could have their house
obviously.
back if it's-
As long as the Germans said, no, hey, that's full of Americans, blast that
And they
place.
found that out quick, like, so they'd blow the house out.
Yeah,
House too.
I'm sure of that.
Of course, we wouldn't go sit in there forever either.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. You're saying, hey, the longer we stay there, the
I would get down to one thing here, probably with this tank here, I would say my tank crew, and I'll mention his name right now, James Nasdell is still alive today in New York. And I just talked to him about 3 days ago.
right?
But Jim and I had a kind of a pattern together we worked. This tank would never sit still a second. I mean, we would be in battle, we would go ahead, we'd go backwards, we'd go sideways, we'd go forward. Every time we'd go some other direction, a shell would hit there. So we didn't sit still.
Yeah.
And but the tank commander up here telling me what to do, how to do, and get the hell out, turn right, turn left, get back.
And I'm sure you saw some American tanks that weren't that fortunate,
There
or
was
didn't
many-
have that good.
We lost out of 17 tanks, there was 4 of us still running at one
Oh,
time.
man.
That's the rest of them blown.
Yeah.
And the back, we always had a baggage carrier to haul stuff in,
Right.
and I lost a couple of them off of there.
Yeah.
And,
Okay. So the
But
baggage-
anyway, it was just plain lucky, that's about it.
But you also had good training, but you also
We had
worked
good
out.
training, we worked together.
But there's one more thing that I want to throw in here, Kenneth. You were ornery, okay? And you were ornery, and you're telling yourself, hey, I've got this war to fight, and I'm going to
Yeah.
come back, okay?
I did, we just,
Okay. Do you remember getting strafed very much by German aircraft? You remember that happening very often?
not too often did we get strafed on it, but it didn't make any difference to us on them.
Yeah,
We'd, be off the side or get
Yeah.
back in the tank.
yeah.
And the bullets wouldn't hurt us as far as they go. The bombs, if they hit, would rock us up and down.
Okay, so how many times did you have your tracks either blown off or did they break?
I lost a couple of them.
Okay, and you had, so where would you get repairmen?
Then you get out, you go down, you can get in underneath the tank here.
Yeah,
I don't know what this has got or not, didn't even look.
uh-huh,
Nope, it ain't got it. Yes, it has, right there.
okay.
That's the escape hatch.
Okay, really?
Yep.
Okay, so you could get out down there.
And the drivers would go down, we'd have to go up and down in underneath there and drop down in through the hole and get out, both of us. Plus the upstairs here would do the same thing.
Okay, so that's
Same hole.
in case the tank was on fire? And
Yeah, in case of fire, you couldn't get out, because if you come out the top, they're gonna be sitting out there waiting on you.
Exactly.
So,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
you come out underneath and crawl along and try to stay under the tank or get,
So
where you could.
what kind of a weapon did you have for?
We had a grease gun, what they call grease guns.
Okay, and that's what?
45 millimeter.
Okay, 45 millimeter. Okay, a grease gun. Okay.
Grease gun.
All right.
We
okay.
call them grease gun because they look just like a grease gun.
Okay.
Clip goes in, and the wire handle,
Yeah.
the barrel, you're gonna screw it.
Okay.
You got to where you could do that in the dark.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Okay.
And I remember the time there, my assistant gunner, it was in battle, and he froze up. And here I was, trying to drive this thing, trying to do this, trying to do that, and trying to unjam his gun.
Yeah.
And he just sat there and sat there.
Where was he sitting? in
And
the
I did,
tank?
huh?
Was he right beside you?
He sat right beside me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he was called assistant driver and a valve gunner.
So was he scared?
He just scared the shit out of me. He
Okay,
just
yeah,
scared me.
okay, all right.
So
Okay.
I got his gun unjammed. We got to going again.
Okay. Okay, talk to us about the first time you had to cross a river.
Well, the first time we crossed the Ruhr River and also the Rhine River.
Right.
And main one I remember probably is the Rhine. That was twice as big as the Mississippi River, wide.
Right.
And we went across that on pontoons. And the pontoons,
Okay, begs the question, did you ever see a tank go off of one of those?
No.
You'd be in trouble in a tank
you'd
if
be
you
in
went.
trouble. You'd
Yeah,
go right down.
Yeah.
You'd be done. You'd probably try to get out, but I couldn't swim either.
yeah, okay, all right, okay, well.
Some of them could. I
Yeah,
couldn't.
yeah, but, you know, that's, when you grew up in rural Iowa, that was often the case. There wasn't a swimming pool, you know, a lot of times, you know,
That's right.
or you didn't have an opportunity.
We had
you
a
know.
creek out here.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you go. Not a real good place to learn how to swim. Okay, so you're going along, and so did you have that same assistant gunner or assistant driver the whole time?
No, not all the time. I had, I think that was the second one I got.
Okay,
I think they kind of advance them a little bit if somebody needs another tank.
Now I have to ask you, hey, did you have to say to anybody, hey, this kid froze up, I can't have him there, I gotta be able to count on him?
I wouldn't do that.
Did he get better?
He got better.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that to anybody.
all right.
I'd help him more so than anything.
Okay, all right, well,
Which we did.
I just thought I'd ask the
Yeah,
question.
so no, we didn't.
You never know.
Well, you never know, because it's your life and his life. But
Yeah, and it's just,
it's my life to help his life too.
but, you know, I mean, you're all scared, you know.
Oh,
but-
scared shitless.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is the winter of 1943, 44.
44, 45. 45,
Right, 44. Okay, talk to us about Christmas 1945. Do you remember anything about
I don't
that?
even remember where it was at. I know Christmas come and went
Okay.
a couple times there.
Yeah,
and we don't even
I'm
pay
sure.
attention to
Yeah,
it.
that's
They'd try to get us
Yeah.
turkey once in a while or a hot meal
Yeah, yeah.
at that time.
But that-
And I don't even remember.
Okay. All right, so now we're going on, and what was the most you would travel in a day, kind of, do you think, roughly, mileage-wise?
Oh, it depends on what you had to do, really.
Yeah.
A lot of times they would tell us, the tank or platoon or whatever, we're going to go over and take this town here. We're going to go in there. The town's not taken yet,
Yeah.
or so forth. That's maybe like 20, 30 kilometers away,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. So it's up to you, plus the infantry group or something, to head that way and take that town. You don't know what you're going to hit or see in the meantime on the way over,
Right.
or where the 88s are at. Usually you had a reconnaissance group that would be ahead of you to know or pull out some of the
Yeah.
spark plugs so that we would save ourselves a little bit of danger there. But anyway, they would just tell you to do it. I know one time they told us to take a town, and hell, we jumped in, we just started going like a bat out of hell, got over, tied up with our other groups, and, well, how'd it go? Did you get that town taken? Well, yeah, there was nothing there. Oh, you're supposed to take that town.
So, there were German soldiers in the buildings or something, or you
It
don't
could have
know?
been, but we sure didn't see
Okay,
any, but
yeah, all right.
we didn't slow down long enough to see.
Okay.
So if there's any there, somebody got them in the rear.
Okay, talk to us about being ambushed by German tanks.
Oh,
Did they cover themselves with like pine boughs and crap
They
like
covered
that?
everything,
Okay.
and I know there's times there, one time particularly, I driving, I turned a corner, and I had my open, and I kind of looked off the left, there's that big old tiger tank down the road a little ways.
How far away from you?
Oh, probably 100 yards,
Yeah,
and I just shoved it in reverse, started backwards right away,
yeah,
and I, told the tank runner, I said, German tank around the corner.
yeah,
So we didn't, and I don't know, we never did tangle with that one.
yeah.
So somebody else might have went around the corner and got it, but
Okay,
we didn't do it.
so your turret takes a direct hit from an 88 millimeter, what happens?
We do what now?
If your turret
Yeah.
takes a direct hit from an 88 millimeter, what happens?
Well, it probably would knock everything out.
Okay,
We never got hit in the turret, never did.
okay,
Our tanks, that's a reason that we outmaneuvered the Germans, is our all what they call hydro stabilizers. You could automatically turn them with electric.
okay.
Germans had to crank every bit of theirs.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and theirs were bigger and heavier.
Uh-huh,
So it took them longer to turn that tank a certain degree to get to us.
Okay.
So we could outmaneuver them, going
Okay.
around the side.
Yeah, that's a
We
good
shoot
thing.
under the tanks. The only way you could knock them out is from underneath, the front, the back, and
Okay.
sides.
Okay.
Yeah, shoot underneath.
okay. All right, so that's what you would do with the German tanks, so you're shooting at German tanks, or that's how they could knock you out, by
They
shooting
could do the
underneath?
same thing, but they could
Okay.
hit us in the front and their 88s could go right through.
Okay, all right.
Right through. I seen one of our tanks with 5 88 shells lined up, boom, 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 boom. And the tank wasn't nothing left of it. I mean, it was gone.
Okay.
But that's the thing that happened.
Did you have much help from American air support?
Oh, some, yes. P-47s, I was the one that got us out of that one trap where
Right.
that 88 had
Okay.
us boxed in.
Yeah.
P-47 come and we told him where's that, and he made a couple dives and pretty soon seen everything flying up a hill.
Yeah.
It went and they got it.
Thunderbolts, right? P-47 Thunderbolts.
P-47s. So
Okay.
they helped us some, and they done some strafing. They done help when we needed it. But when you look upside there, upstairs,
Yeah.
the sky was just covered with B-17s.
Oh, yeah.
B-24s.
Yeah.
I bet there's thousands of them up there. That's what you really like to see.
Yeah,
And
because you
so
knew where
we've
they
seen
were
that,
headed. And then, of course,
But then,
finally, the P-51s helped the B-17s out,
yeah,
thank God.
we finally, on the biggest, we had several, I got 3 battle stars, but one of them was the Rheinberg area. And the Rheinberg area was where we got the hell kicked clear out of us. That's where we lost a lot of tanks.
Okay, now you said there's only 4 left out of 17.
4 left out of 17. That was the Rheinberg-Ossenberg area.
Okay, so what made that battle so bad?
Well, it's just stupidity on the brass. And I say that because the brass thought the Germans were all down below. The Germans were smart. They thought that we were all up above. Up above is where we were at,
Right.
coming in. And they thought they had all of us, but they only sent us like 2 companies or a battalion, and that was it, plus some infantry. And that was about it, to take Ossenberg and Rheinberg. Shit, they were all there.
Yeah,
I never seen so much crap.
yeah,
Then I remember going into Rheinberg. Rheinberg sits, where it sits there. Then Ossenberg is a little town right beside it, just to it. We went out of Rheinberg after we got that town captured. We went on out around the Ossenberg. I can remember going out, and I'll back up to the story a little later here.
okay,
But we went out of Ossenberg and went to a little town, part of town. Plus, in the outskirts were a few road. Germans had a lot of trees on the roads,
right.
and we'd run out of the trees, and then that's when they let us have it. They blowed out the front tank, the back tank, and then they sat there and they'd hated it. And that's when we just took off out in the fields. We took off everywhere. We were shooting anything we could see.
Yeah. So that was a major league ambush.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
We lost many comrades, my friends that drove these tanks. They were out on the ground. If we stopped and asked one of them to jump on the back.
Yeah,
If he'd have jumped on the back, we'd have saved him, but he didn't. He went in the fight on the ground.
yeah.
He got killed. And,
Okay, so there
it's
were,
just a lot of things.
how many the American infantry was right with you, or were they behind you?
They would usually go along behind us. We'd make the raid, front, and then they'd be behind cleaning up
Okay, all right.
things that they
Trying
did.
to clean.
And
Okay.
So then at that time, we turned around, after I got out of there, I went back the way we came, and there was a barn there, and I remember back in the damn tank in there, getting out of the line of everybody, and during the night, that's where we stayed. We slept in the tank. We stayed there all night in the tank. I could hear Germans talking all the time. They had to be in the barn alongside us. But we never seen them and everything. That's when I left my tank here at one time, and there was about 4 of us. We took and made a trip way up where we was at to see if we could rescue some people.
Right.
And we didn't do any good.
But you think there were German soldiers in that barn?
I think they could have been.
So were they more
or
scared
they could have
of
been civilians. I don't know. But
were they more scared of you than you were them?
I think so, probably.
Okay.
But
So-
anyway, we found a lot of dog tags. We found people, Americans just ground up where the tanks would run over them.
Yeah.
And they just left a mess. And,
Well, there's nothing you can do about that.
nothing
You know.
you can do about it.
Okay.
So you get the hell out of there.
German prisoners.
And then we took German prisoners. We never took.
Okay. That's the way it was. You didn't have time. You
Didn't
know?
have time. We sent them back, and
Yeah.
somehow they didn't make it.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. That's a good place to leave that
But
topic.
that was them, because we found would shoot you in the back just as quick as they'd look at you.
Okay. Time out. Okay. Okay. We're back again now. And you said you were put up for, suggested for a Bronze Star.
A Bronze Star.
We're going back to try and rescue those American troops.
And, if
Okay.
there's anybody left to get, I tried to help, but
But
there
the
was
Bronze
about 5
Star
of us went out.
never came through and whatever, and like you said, hey, that's the
And I
way it
could
is.
care less.
Yeah,
But,
okay,
so,
okay.
anyway, such is life.
Yep.
But anyway,
What was the first time you saw General Patton, or do you remember?
I don't remember. Seems to me like it was at a parade or some damn thing, and he come driving by and
Yeah,
so forth. And
Yeah.
of course, we never got too close to him. I did get real close to a general, and my tank broke down one time, and we were left back up as we wasn't too far away from Berlin at that time.
okay, now, did your tank ever break down at a bad time? You can say, well, any time will be a bad time, but like
Yeah,
when you were
yeah,
being
it would
pursued,
be.
when you really needed it, it was there for you?
When I needed it, it was there for me.
Yeah.
Outside of when we're going maybe march and motor or quit
Yeah.
or something that we'd have to do something. But it broke down. I don't even remember what it was. But then you got to wait for the maintenance to come.
Yeah, right.
And then there's only us and a half track and something else left there in the center of nowhere.
Exactly.
And so we sat there. And we stole food from the Germans to eat.
Yeah.
We got that. We kept there, and then
You stole food from the German who?
the Germans' families to
Okay,
eat.
okay.
And so we got,
Were they
got
good?
food.
Were they good to you?
They were good, pretty good to us.
But did you trust most of them or not?
Did you what?
Did you think there might have been a lot of Nazi sympathizers by that time?
Oh,
or
if
were
they
pretty-
didn't show it though.
Yeah.
We'd get something to eat, and then we'd leave there and go back up to our center where we belong, where we could
Yeah,
govern the whole area around.
exactly.
And then the tank destroyer come along and picked us up at the tank tow truck.
Okay, all
And
right.
it towed us ways down the road to where they were at, and we got it fixed, and away we went again, But
What month did the Battle of the Bulge start, Kenneth? Do you remember roughly?
where it started up in the forest area, hurts it.
Yeah. But it would have been like in January or February
Oh,
of 45?
it was in the end of December and the first part of January when
Okay,
we really got into it.
okay, all right.
And we weren't in the bulge, we were trying to get them out of the bulge.
Okay, all
That's
right.
where we were coming in. We were fighting the Germans on the outside
All right.
to get that done.
Okay.
And,
Did you have the same tank the whole time you were over there? Or did you have to switch tanks?
no, I had the same tank.
Okay, so your tank made it through.
It made it through.
Did you ever wonder, I wonder where that tank went?
I don't know, I remember where it went, but then
Yeah.
when I left it,
Yeah,
after the war ended there, we were up in Germany, and it's in one of my books here again.
yeah,
And staying there, and the war come down, it ended.
yeah,
Then they turned around and started to send us down to Czechoslovakia to a prison camp.
yeah,
So I drove the tank way over 100 and some miles, 200 miles,
Right.
whatever that. we drove the tanks down to Pilsen, Czechoslovakia, and then there's a little city right out.
Yeah.
I just seen the name of the book the other day.
That's okay.
And that's where they stayed, in this little small town. The Czechoslovakian people would put us up. Our tank crew stayed in one little house with a couple that was a clown for a circus.
Oh, really?
And his wife, and had a good-looking daughter.
You remember that?
She outran us every inch of the way. But anyway, we guarded the prison camps there.
Yeah, well, who was it? There were German prisoners in
German
there?
prisoners there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by that time, do you remember talking or trying to talk to any of those German prisoners or anything like that?
You couldn't do much talking to
Yeah,
them.
okay.
Our vocabulary with Germanism is
Yeah,
few words.
exactly.
We knew when they was cussing us.
Yeah, no, I'm sure of that. But this was after the war was over.
This is after the war ended, yeah.
Right. But could you tell that they were somewhat thankful that the war
It
was
sounded
over?
like they were at peace, yeah, waiting to go home.
Okay, yeah, okay. And they probably had had enough.
And that's about where I left my tank.
Yeah, okay.
Down there.
So it was in shut, so I wonder if they brought any of those tanks back to the States after the war?
I don't know, I would probably doubt it.
Yeah, okay.
I would probably doubt it.
Yeah, okay.
They should have saved a lot of them. Maybe they probably give them to the armies over there,
Right.
the people in France or Germany,
Okay.
the ones that wasn't in the war.
So what was the last time you saw an actual tank like you were in? How long ago was
Like
it?
this?
Where was it? Yeah.
We went down to Fort Knox, Kentucky. They had reunions of the 8th Armored every year. That's once it got started there shortly after the war,
Yeah.
but I didn't know about all of it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know until, oh gosh, I'm going to say 10 years ago or 15, that they were having them. And I said to a kid in our office there at Heartland Properties, I said to him, Jim, I says, Jim, how can you find people on that computer thing? And he says, why? And he says, well, I've got a couple of Army buddies. I don't know where they're at. I know one of them's in New York, one's in California. He said, well, give me their name. So I give him the name. The first one was Beverly E. Freeman. You'd think that's a girl's name, which it wasn't. It was a guy. And he was a very good friend of mine. And he got injured twice. But he lived in California, and I remember the town San Jose. That's all I remember. And so I told Jim that. And so Jimmy brought it up on the computer.
Right.
And he says, well, here, you got a small town right over here. God, I can't even think of the name now. But anyway, I said, yeah. And he says, there's 5 names, all Beverly Freeman. I looked at him, I says, well, that little town right there, where's it located? And he says, it's sitting right beside San Jose. So on that there was Beverly E. Freeman. And I said, okay, bring it up. So he brought it up on the screen. The phone number, his address, everything.
And you called him.
And I called him. And he started crying like a baby.
Yeah. Well, I can believe that.
And he was on the council at this city. And you know, so that,
Isn't that something, though?
he started crying and he says, Ken, I've been trying to locate you for 50-some years.
Yeah.
I said, Bev, I've never moved from out of Oakland, only to the Bluffs.
Yeah.
And everybody in Oakland knows me. He said, I've sent letters to the postmaster, the lady, at that time down here in Oakland. She wrote back, never heard of him.
Oh, man. That upsets you.
And I know the gal, so I said some of that. But anyway, I talked to him for quite a while. And then one day I said, we're gonna come out and see us, or you come back and see us, one or the other. And so one day I called him. I said, Bev, you got room for us out there in a hotel someplace? We're gonna come see you. And he started crying again. He said, we're glad to have you, but you're not staying in the hotel. You're staying with us.
There you go.
So he met us at the airplane. We went out there, and it's just like homecoming.
Did you recognize him? And he recognized you?
He's gained a lot of weight.
Yeah,
He kind of recognized me, but we recognized each other, and we still talk to his wife today. I call her, we talked to her about probably a week ago. She's getting pretty bad. But
Did you ever have a desire to climb back into that little place where you used to sit?
that brings up another story.
Okay, let's go.
We went down to Camp Polk, Camp Polk. Yeah, it was Camp Polk. No, back up. Well, don't get me wrong, it could have been Camp Oak, or it could have been Fort Knox, I don't remember, but we went to the motor pool to look over the tanks. They were giving us, showing us this and that, and they had one like this. It was the M4, well, it was the bigger tank, a little bit, and I can't think of the name of the guy that the general.
Yeah.
They named him after him. But the tank was a little bit wider, a little bit longer, and I said, boy, it'd sure be nice to get back and get in there and look at that.
Yeah.
They had a ramp built up and a platform where you could look in.
Yeah.
And I got up there and I got down in it
Yeah.
to turn. I wanted to get in the driver's seat, that was boxed off.
Right.
So I got down and turned.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that's about 5 years ago,
Okay.
probably from the time
Yeah.
But I couldn't get back out. So they had to help me out there. I couldn't get my feet to move and get them up, and of course they were getting worse.
Yeah.
But
That brought back a lot of memories.
the tank they had, Abrams.
Yeah, Abrams, okay, all
The
right.
tank they had would do about 60 mile an hour. It had Cadillac engines.
Man,
It had the big engines in
Yeah,
it,
okay.
twin engines, and they could do about 60 mile an hour in them.
okay, right,
They're still heavier, just as heavy as the ones we had, which is like 45 ton,
okay.
and they maybe a few ton more. But they were a little bit wider. They were about, I want to say probably all total a foot wider, all total.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we're back again, and I need to ask you, just because people watching this will probably be interested, what was the closest you came to meeting a bad situation, like a horrible injury or worse, when you were in that tank, or in combat?
Oh, there's probably a few of them there. The one particular was not combat, but is in Louisiana down here. And Louisiana, in a tank, you've always got to have somebody in a turret,
Right?
and then the driver.
Uh-huh.
And I was taking my tank to the motor pool, which I took it down to him, and the mechanic was driving the tank, and we were going down the road, and I was sitting in the turret up here, because they had to be there. And then all of a sudden, the roads down there wasn't that big. I mean, it was, typical road,
Yeah.
cars high. But anyway, all of a sudden, loomed in front of me. I was sitting up in it. All of a sudden, telephone wire.
Ooh.
It hit me right here.
Yeah.
I seen it just in time to jerk my head this way.
Yeah.
And it hit me right here, yanked out my teeth up here. These are false teeth.
Yeah.
And yanked my teeth out, cut my mouth all up inside. I ate soup for a couple of weeks.
That's awful.
In the meantime, my feet was down in the tank,
Yeah.
and so as the water caught me, it started backwards. My feet come up and caught the tank here, the turret, and it bent me over backwards. Damn near broke my back,
Jeez.
and I couldn't hardly walk for several weeks either.
So,
And I finally went to the hospital there and got everything taken care of.
oh, that's
But
awful.
I was just damn lucky. If it hadn't been a little bit, I took my head right off.
That's exactly right. Oh, man.
That's
So
probably
hit
the
you
worst
like-
one and the closest one.
Like hit you like right here?
Yeah.
Right here?
Right here. It hit just right, any higher, but it hit me right here
Yeah.
because I jerked my head just in time. And it hit me right here.
Yeah,
Big old black cable.
Yeah.
Who in the hell strung it across the road? I don't know.
Yeah, but you just thought like about this close to you. You just had it.
I seen it just in time to jerk my head
Okay.
and it hit.
Okay. Oh,
And that's
man.
what happened and so forth. But
Well, yeah, but that's very scary. You're talking about a lot of serious dental work there. Your back was hurt.
my back was hurt, and that goes to another thing. It's gotten worse every year and every
Yeah.
year and every year. I went to the VA, and the doctor, I told him about it and so forth. My hearing, I got hearing aids from the VA on account of the noise,
Right.
and my teeth. I pay for my own teeth, but I did, and I started. The guy at Voca, Dr. Reinert, was the first one that ever worked on my mouth
Yeah.
up there. And he said, "You've had trouble, haven't you?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I got caught hit in the mouth with a damn wire." And he said, "You've got your teeth are all dying." So I got new teeth out of that. But anyway, but
Yeah. Okay, so how about the closest thing in combat now, Kenneth? It's probably not a pleasant thing to talk about, but you're doing a great job of recalling things. just the constant worry about getting hit.
There was so many different things that
Yeah,
that
could have been.
it's hard to pick out
Yeah,
just one complete.
yeah,
Because anytime you're in battle, you got Germans all around.
yeah, that's right.
And
And they're,
when you aren't, you're trying to get away from the bastard.
yeah, there you go. Well, that's exactly right.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Then
So,
come back later.
Yeah. What's your opinion overall of General Patton?
General Patton probably was, I would think, probably the most greatest general ever went. It is your blood and his guts. That's the old saying, and it always was. He didn't care what it was, but if they left it up to him, it would have been done sooner. I think, this is my opinion.
Right.
Because he didn't care. He wanted to go. He may have lost men while he's doing it, but he knew what the hell he was doing and what he was going to. The other generals sat back and they kind of, oh, let's do a little bit slower. Let's do this, let's do that, let's go there, you know. So I think that possibly they would just like the politicians today, they all should be wiped out. And if they'd leaving it up to the army over in Iraq, we wouldn't be there today if they'd left it to the regular army. 6 months we'd have been out of there and done. But hell no, they had to stick their damn nose in it, these not generals, but the senators and congressmen. So I don't have any love for any of them.
I hear you. And that's pretty hard to disagree with. Okay, so you're going along. Do you remember where you were when you heard that Hitler was dead?
We went at one time up to help liberate Hitler. Our tank crew and a couple, 3 or 4 other tanks, and I was a general, and I found out it was General Kesselring who was up in there, not anybody else. And so we went up to liberate him, get him out of there. We were kind of noted as the liberation company, or tanks, or platoons and stuff.
Right.
We liberated several prison camps, different things, and that's a miserable sight to see. It's,
Okay, so you're talking now about the death camps.
Death camps, yeah.
All right. Okay.
We seen where they had like big hooks. They had troughs going around, and they had hooks, and they'd hook them under here and let them hang. That's how they killed them, the Americans and stuff like that.
That's how they would kill, like the Jewish people?
Jewish people, they shot them.
Okay, all right.
And we did see that happen a lot.
Now you mean Americans they were killing? You mean like Americans?
The Jewish, most Americans, and that they killed that way.
What?
Prison camps.
Okay.
And there'd be other allies in the prison as far as English and other people too. But
we all know how horrible the Japanese were to American prisoners. Were the Germans any better to American prisoners, do you think?
I don't think they were to begin with.
Okay.
As far as it's probably equalization. You killed them, they killed you.
Okay.
It's whoever got there first.
Yeah, it's war, period.
It's war,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And,
Okay. So,
and this thought just offhand here, where I live now, Ken knows, I moved there in 1965 or 66. I built a house there. There was 2 houses there. The one house beside me, the guy just got through building, is a trucker. The other house sitting there and owned the ground was a full-blooded German. He fought in World War II against us.
really? Oh, wow. So,
Yeah, his name was Lemke.
so he's still living there?
He died. His
Okay.
wife's still a good friend of ours. She comes over. And Klaus, that's the son.
Yeah.
He's he's a pretty good guy.
So what kind of conversations would you guys have?
Not too much.
Okay.
He was kind of a bullheaded German, and I didn't say much.
Yeah, but he knew.
I left him on his own, do his own thing, and I done.
But how did it come up that he was a German soldier and you were an American soldier? How did that happen?
Well, he was in the German army over there, and then after the service, after the war, he come to America, and this is where he landed here.
But how did you know that he had been a German soldier? Did he tell you that, or?
Oh, he told me that.
Okay.
But he lied to me also,
Okay.
because he said he flew Luftwaffes.
Oh yeah.
And there's another German guy that lived away, a few miles away, that come visit him every now and then. And I got to talking different times to him, and he said, shit, he was in the infantry. But he is the infantry in the same area fighting across the hedgerows that we were on.
Yeah.
It's just strange.
Yeah, it is
But
strange,
that-
but it's
that
a
happens.
small world, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
small
that's just
world.
the way it is.
Anyway, the family, I mean, they were nice people. We get along.
Yeah, well, that's the way it was. That's, you know, that's, a lot of those people didn't have a choice, okay? I mean, they were said, hey,
Didn't have much choice.
we're gonna take over the world and you better be with me or you're
And they
dead.
sent a lot of prisoners from there over here to different times, and that may be how he came. I don't remember, but I know he came over here.
But I think a lot of those German prisoners that came over here in prison camps started to like America, and that's
They
probably
like
why a lot
America,
of them
yeah,
stayed,
yeah, they
you know?
like
I mean,
America,
you know,
yeah.
when you start to
Yeah.
think about it. Okay, if you can go back and talk about your whole experience in the military, Kenneth, how would you put it in capsule form? How would you talk about it, share that story with us?
I would say probably my experience that I've had, I wouldn't do without it, but I wouldn't go back. I've always said after men, women, and children, I'll go.
Okay,
And that's put me down to the bottom.
yeah,
I mean, I don't care about going back and doing it again. I don't care about it. I think probably it's one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had, and I'll never forget it.
yeah, that's right.
And I got a book, a whole book here. My nephew was a colonel with Schwarzkopf,
Really?
and and I'm going to say 87, I've got a whole book here of our tour of Germany. But he invited, in sport, Hummel, which you all know,
And we agree with
was
sports, right?
my brother. And we were over there together, and he was in the mess kit repair unit. I mean, no, what I always tell you, mess kit repair unit. He was a cook,
Okay,
but
sport-wise, right?
sport
I remember
I seen
that.
him twice while I was over there.
Yeah.
And one time was up around Aachen, Germany. I'll tell you about that a little later. But anyway, Terry invited us over to go see the country and go back where we were. And Sport traveled just about the same area as we did, only different, maybe a little ways away,
Right.
not far. And so we went over, and Terry and Wanda met us at the airport in Frankfurt. And we got lost in Frankfurt Airport. That is the biggest damn airport I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got lost, and Terry finally found us by advertising where there were speakers and everything else. And they finally caught up with it and found where it was at. But anyway, we went to his house, and we stayed at a little, his house didn't hold us, so we stayed at a little motel in the little town that he was in right there. But Terry and Wanda took us, and Terry was a good friend of the generals, a couple of them. And so we left where Terry lived, and they had a van. We took and we drove. Wanda did, Terry did the first day. He drove us, we went clear down into France. We finally went clear down into Le Havre, France, where we landed, and Omaha Beach, and went through all that, and then started coming back to the identical track that I traveled in my tank.
How did you feel about that?
It just brought back a lot of memories.
Did you recognize a lot of
Recognized
things?
some faces I did and some
Yeah.
I didn't.
And what year was that you did this now, Kenneth?
I think it was 87.
Okay. But did
I got it, like I said, it's in one of these books
Yeah,
here.
okay. But did you, well, how did, I'm sure the people were really glad you were there, okay?
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. You're gonna say-
Well, I was going to go back to, what was I going to tell you about?
Yeah, Aachen.
About Aachen.
Yeah,
We were driving up, moving up to Battle again, and we'd had to drive so far, and then you get a certain area you got to go take. But going through Aachen, I happened to spot a vehicle, and I looked, and I said, gee, it's a 555th. That's what my brother's in. So whenever we got up to where we was going, I don't even remember the name of the town, but we got up there, I went to the captain, I said, Captain, I said, I think my brother's down here in this Aachen, down there. I said, you think I could take a Jeep and run down, see if he's there? And the captain says, well, yeah, you can, but take somebody with you. And don't be gone at nighttime. Go in the daytime and get back here. So I took the Jeep, we drove down to Aachen, and we found him.
that's amazing
Sport.
that you would find him.
Yeah, and
So-
I found him through the numbers and letters and his outfits, and I asked one, asked another, and first thing we come across, you know, hell yeah, he cooks over here. And so we found him, so we went in there, and he says, well, how you, and then, you know, he said, what have you been doing? And I said, well, we've been here and there and everywhere, I guess. He said, how about your meals? I said, well, C rations and K rations, that's about it. He says, how about a good meal? I said, we're ready. So he took us back in the kitchen, he cooked up the damnedest biggest steak you ever seen for each of us. I said, where in the hell did you get this steak at? He says, the officers don't go hungry. So them bastards were eating steak, and we were at K rations and C rations.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it was. So anyway, we had a nice visit. We went back, and then I seen him one other time there. And,
well, you were very, very lucky that you got
lucky
to
you got to see him.
Yeah. Okay. So Sport was the only other brother that you had that was over there, or was there?
Well, over there, my brother Don, he flew the B-25s. He was a pilot. Okay. He flew that over the Burma Hump. Okay. Down there, he was in the war there. He made, I don't know, 30 or 40 missions down there. Then my young brother Jack, and Jack was in the Navy. He wised up. He took the Navy where he had a place to sleep. But anyway, the four of us is in, four brothers.
Okay, and you're the only one that's still living? Okay.
I'm the only one that's still living today. Okay. I'm the only one in the whole family.
Isn't that something though?
I lost him and the daughter here, or their sister rather, about 4 months, 6 months ago.
So out of 9, you're the one left. Okay.
I'm the only one left, Right. And Max, my uncle, that's the one that was with me when we was raised.
Right.
He's 94.
Wow. Okay.
So that's getting up there.
Well,
go ahead.
Thank you for your service.
Are we done?
And we're going to talk just a little bit about this stuff right here.
Okay.
He's got such a tremendous record of his service, and it's really, really impressive. And your family has thanked you many times, and they'll continue to thank you about your record. So go ahead, you can just point and talk, Ken.
Okay, this here, I was in a tank battalion, and this is a medium tanker that I drove, one like that for 3 years, approximately 3. And this tank I spotted down in Texas with the Danbury Mint. They make them, or made it, and had it sitting there. And I looked at it and I said, dang, that's just like identical to what I drove. It's kind of expensive. I paid over $500 for this piece of, but everything on it works, is maneuverable. So I bought it and brought it home. And these are some of the medals or pins that we wore when I was in service there, Army, at Invincibles. And point out one thing for sure, this picture was last in Fort Knox, Kentucky, where we went on the reunion. This is my tank commander here, James Nasdell, which is still alive today, and I talked to him about 3 days ago. And Jim and I, we've seen each other several times, and very few of us are still alive out of our company. I think I can remember about 3 now.
But you were very complimentary of this gentleman right here.
He was very, very nice.
He knew what he was doing, and
he went on in life as a retired reservist and a career man. Plus, he spent retired from the New York Police Department.
Really? Okay.
I'll say that. Right. So he's had quite a life too, but he come along pretty good. These are a few things. A German billfold I brought back. My old tank driver's license. They made us have a license to drive.
Oh, really?
You can believe that. I didn't know what the hell that is. It's a German little thing. Swastika. I got many more things at home, but I couldn't find that. I couldn't find a lot of them. Yeah. My battle stars. We were awarded 3 battle stars. Should have had more than that, but another company, that black outfit, got credit for one that they didn't do anything and they got credit for it.
Yeah. Well,
so that's here and there.
That's the way it is sometimes.
That's the way it is. This here, and I go back to the books there. I kept books on everything. This is when I first went into service, or not service, but in the military here, and I didn't think I was that good looking until I looked at the picture. And that is a book there that was kept by Helen Sue Henry. She married to Williams at Oakland, and she kept a record that come out in Acorn every week of servicemen.
Oh, wow.
And she could cut them all out, and one time after the war, sometime I don't remember when, she called me and says, Ken, I got a book for you I'd like to present to you. She says it's a military book. So she gave me this of all the servicemen in the surrounding area here.
Well, that's an awesome thing that she did.
Carson, Hancock.
That's great.
It's got all the people that went into service.
Wow.
That there is a monument at Fort Knox, Kentucky, of all the armored units, and our armored 8th Armored's in that circle there that shows where we're at.
Okay.
And this here is just a copy of the Battle of the Bulge. And it gives us a diagram of everything, where we went, and all the stuff that happened throughout this.
That's just a wealth.
And these are letters from comrades that have sent me, letters during the period of time. And they're thanking me for this and that and so forth. But
that's fun.
hey, I heard from a lot of them there. I went to our first 8th Armored Division reunion. I think it's this right here. I went to there, the first one I ever went to, and I says, you know, there's really no reason for us to drive clear everywhere to see each other, because we don't know anybody else except us. So I says, why don't you all come to our house in Iowa? So in Iowa, we scheduled it, and I don't remember the year exactly, on it, but anyway, we scheduled a meeting for them to come, and there's 8 of us showed up together. The one in California, and I had trouble finding, Beverly Freeman, he passed away a month ahead of them, of coming. And it was in August we were going to have it. And he passed away. But I found him on the telephone thing. That's how I found him. I also found my tank commander, Jim Nezza, the same way, on the computer, on the telephone.
Well, those computers can do awesome things.
They do a lot of things, but this is the beginning of the anniversary of the my first attendance. Number 1. That's the first one I went to. But anyway, I got a lot of stuff, a lot of memories.
Well, thanks again, young man, for your service.
With me.
But you didn't know you were supposed to.
Well, I didn't know. And I named the poem "You or Me," because that's what it's all about.
And this is about the Last Man's Club.
Last Man's Club.
Okay. And these 2 gentlemen are still in it, obviously. And they're like 14, 15, or 16 left?
Out there is
Is that
count
true?
17.
17,
Okay. And how often do you meet?
every year
Okay.
Once a year.
And where do you meet?
at Boca.
Okay.
We were meeting at the, when we had many, we met at the Legion Club, but now we're meeting up at the Amber's Cafe. And
Okay.
they set up a nice room for us.
All right. And I would suggest that's a very private and very special
Yeah.
meeting, right?
It is.
And that's the way it should be.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about what happened to the 2 veterans from World War I?
Yes, there was Jim Kimberly and the man, what was his last name?
That's okay.
I know Jim
But-
Kimberly, you know.
And the John Deere man,
Huh?
the John Deere man in Oakland. Can't remember.
Just tell us about what happened.
They
It's in your
were,
mind.
Okay.
they were the last 2 men of World War I.
Right?
And they always had a meeting every year, and they all got down to the last 2 men.
Mm-hmm.
And so they met, they had the bottle of wine, and they both looked at it, tipped it up, says, hey, we don't think we'll drink that. And neither one wanted it, so they put it in the museum down in Oakland.
Isn't that something?
Stemple,
Okay.
Carl Stemple was the other man.
Okay, all right.
Carl Stemple
Okay.
and...
So the whole idea is you have this bottle of wine, and then the last 2 are supposed to decide what they're going to do with it. Is
Right.
that true? Okay.
We have in our World War II, we have a bottle of Betty Ann wine, and there was a Betty that was made over in Council Bluffs. They had a winery there,
Mhm.
and we have this bottle. In fact, it's right out in my garage in the safe today.
You got it, huh? Aha!
That's a great story.
And I haven't popped the cork yet.
Yeah, so what year did you buy that bottle of Betty Ann, do you think? Would have been right after...
The first meeting we had of the Last Man's Club was held at the Chieftain Hotel in Council Bluffs, and Johnny Carson was our entertainer.
That is great
And what
stuff.
year was that? I don't remember.
Well, it wasn't, is it 45 to 46, 40, somewhere in that area, I think, 47. We didn't start right immediately.
Yeah.
I think
of
a
course.
year went by or 2.
We
Seems like-
started with how many members? How many?
I think it was over 400.
Way over 400.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And the
now-
biggest thing today is that when I go, to the Last Man's Club. Somebody drives me, of course, but I usually get back home about 9:30.
Yeah.
And my wife always wants to know what happens to them other 7 hours before I ever got home when I was younger.
And you say, yeah, right.
Yeah, well, a bunch of us would always, after the meeting, we'd always get 2 or 3 or 4 cars or something. We'd go tour the bars in Omaha.
Well, why not?
And we did, and we finally, we'd get home sometime during the morning.
And now a typical meeting is you kind of go around the room and each one says what they want to say about their
Yes,
military
we have,
experience.
when we open our meeting, we have our flags displayed, and we say everybody is introduced, and then we have our little bottle of wine at the table, our shot glass,
Okay,
and all the names are read, all the deceased,
really?
and then we toast our
Okay.
deceased. We used to break the blavels,
Yeah.
but now we don't.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. That's, but I thought it was just kind of special for you guys to talk about that.
Well, we really have to introduce each other because everybody's got out of shape so that we don't recognize them. So anyway, we introduce each other, know where they're coming from and where they're at.
Yeah.
And usually we got somebody from every city,
Yeah.
exception Donny now. Donny don't have anybody, I don't think.
If this Last Man's Club is the Potawatomi County Last Man's
Last
Club.
Man's Club,
Potawatomi
yeah.
Not
County.
everybody in Potawatomi County.
Council Bluffs doesn't have anybody, and they should. There's one guy I know in Council Bluffs that still is a member, Joe Krummenacher. And I tried to get him to come, and he just won't come. And so
Well, it's called freedom, I guess.
that's freedom.
Well, thank you, young men, for sharing those stories, and we'll get this out somewhere, and we'll have it recorded somewhere. So, well, we want everyone to understand that these two are not the last two.
We're not the last two.
No, that's right.
At least
But
at
then
this
we
point.
hope to be.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
I don't know whether I'll divide up with you or not. No.